Yeah. And we are now live.
Awesome.
So, hi everyone. Welcome to the first episode of So You Want a Job in the Games Industry. My name is Dan Milward and I'm your host. It's my pleasure to introduce Farah Khalaf. Farah is a game producer at Co-op Games. She's lived here in New Zealand, where we met, has lived in Melbourne, Australia. Farah was born in the United Arab Emirates and is currently based in Canada. And I hear that congratulations are in order for your recent nuptials.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, happened around like August last year.
Yeah. So not that recent, but
no.
that,
Yeah.
That I haven't seen you since. So congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, if we could kick off with you telling us about Canada and how it's all going over there at the moment, that would be a good place to start.
Yeah, so I've been in Canada for a year. There's a little bit of a transition shock with the snow, but I'm really glad to be here. I think it opened up a lot of doors to my career. Like as you mentioned before, working at Co-op as a freelance producer in the games industry, and then I'm also working for Capybara Games, who are in Toronto, and Viewport Games, who are making Mondo Museum. So got a lot on my plate right now. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. Yeah, and I think being in Canada has opened a lot of opportunities for me, especially like coming from New Zealand and like having had some work experience in Australia as well. I think that kind of helped diversify my background a little bit.
Yeah, I've always found that being a Kiwi has sort of maybe even at a superficial level, but when I've been in America, it's sort of helped, and it's always opened doors for me, and I think people just kind of find us cute.
Yeah, I think like having like a little bit of an accent change like in a group is like kind of turns heads a little. But yeah, I've embraced it all.
Yeah, excellent. What's it like working at home?
So I guess this is like the reality for most people now, unfortunately, but I've been working from home for about a year and a little bit now. It's been going all right. Like getting used to just having all my communication be through like text and like video calls, and like forcing myself into a good like work routine. Like switching off the computer by 6 p.m. Yeah, and like I've kind of started like adapting like my career around like how to manage remote teams. Yeah, so it's been pretty interesting so far.
Yeah. So is that a fundamental change then to, business as usual for you? Like you said, you were kind of working at home anyway. So what's different now that we're all working at home?
Yeah, so before I used to like call my team, I'd be the only one on a screen and they'd all be in a room, and like I guess now like the communication has been a lot more streamlined. That's like the one positive thing I've taken from this, is the communication with everyone has been a lot more streamlined, with like everyone being on their own devices and like everything being conveyed a lot clearer. I think that has been a pretty helpful change.
Has working at home for you meant that you've had more time to work on passion projects or any hobby projects?
um, Not really, no. I guess because I'm like juggling a few games projects right now. I'm just like I will only do games as my work right now, and not also make that my hobby.
Okay, because I was going
Yeah.
to ask, or are you playing any games? And what's your favorite game?
Um, I think my favorite game is Journey. I've always just kept like coming back to it. I think I played it last month. Um, and I recently played Abzu, I think like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. I don't know why I put it off that long.
Yeah, I'm still to play Journey, but I heard James Everett at a presentation a few years ago from X Magic Leap talking about it, and he said it was the first game I think that he said had made him kind of like shed a tear or made him kind of just that games could have such a powerful emotional effect on us.
Yeah.
Um, it's like really speaks to the power of what we're doing.
Yeah, I think we can like with games we can help people like feel different things that you wouldn't normally feel with like day-to-day like physical interactions. Like I remember with Journey I reached a point, I think everyone knows what I'm talking about here. um there's this point where you just like your heart just drops, and yeah, I think everyone would kind of tell you that same opinion about it. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my goals with this series is to help aspiring game developers and students find their way into the games industry.
Mhm.
And as you know, the story is not the same for all of us. So can you tell us, how did your journey into the games industry begin?
Yeah. um so like I could get into the whole like I played games since I was 5. But I don't find that super interesting. I guess the thing that kind of drove me into the games industry was I started playing games again when I was 18. I kind of dropped games when I was like 14. I just couldn't really relate or couldn't find anything that really fit me as a tween, like a young teenager. Um, and I picked up Uncharted one day, and I was like, I was studying spatial design at AUT at the time, and I realized like, I'm still studying like spaces, but what if I moved into a digital space and helped create like these worlds that we don't really get to experience um, like in normal life. Maybe because of like financial reasons, like you can't travel, like the whole like surrealism that comes with games. I don't think you can get that through like like movies even.
Mm.
um, So yeah, I started studying digital design at AUT. I really like really pushed for like games um, there, and I joined the NZGDA board, and that kind of like opened my eyes into the whole like local games industry in New Zealand. Yeah, and I kind of just like started popping up everywhere where there were like
Mm.
events around the country, and yeah, I think that kind of, I think the community aspect more than anything really pushed me into wanting to get into the games industry.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. How important is it to get involved in the games industry community locally
Hmm.
um, to further your career?
So for me personally, I think it's super important. Like, um, even though like at the end of the day, you're making this product, you still have to have really good like communication skills and people skills. And when people learn that about you, it
Mm.
kind of like gives people a different perspective, like, oh, this person is actually like going to be pretty cool to work with, or like, oh, they have pretty good communication skills, they're reliable, like things like that. I think once you like get more involved with the community, people can see that side of you, because you know, you can have a cool portfolio at the end of the day, but if you're not a nice person, like, yeah, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
really, it's interesting to me that you said that, because I've always sort of said, you know, it's more important to have a portfolio
Mhm.
than it is to have like a formal qualification sometimes, because as an employer, you don't necessarily want to see, you know, like a list of achievements. You want to see
Mhm.
what the person is capable of doing, having, you know, like earn those stripes. And
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do think like the portfolio aspect of it is super important. But yeah, having like when people know a friendly face around like their local games community, I think it really
yeah,
helps like put the pieces together, I think.
yeah, cool. And I'm gonna like bounce back a little. You
Mhm.
talked about Uncharted, which is one of my favorite games. Um,
Awesome. Which one?
well, it's hard to say. Like, I love all of them. I've completed all of them. Just their attention to detail, and
Mhm.
you really feel immersed. And taken, like you're taken on a journey.
Yeah.
And I think games like that inspire me to, you know, make better games myself. And I look at them through the lens of, yeah, I want to do that. And
Yeah.
I want to bring that level of polish to the table. Um, I'm really curious though, what, you know, you mentioned Uncharted, and then we
Mhm.
pretty quickly went on to spatial design. And so,
Mhm.
can you say anything about Uncharted through a spatial design lens?
Hmm. I mean, yeah, definitely. So with like the things that I was learning at the time with spatial design, I was learning a lot of like theory on like lighting and like how like um, spaces transform into one another. So like having different like rooms and like thresholds that lead into like different rooms. I kind of started when I started playing like Uncharted and like those kind of like adventure games like Tomb Raider. I started thinking about like um, how the things that we learn in the real world with like architecture is also applied into games.
Mm,
But with video games, I thought, okay, there aren't like real, like there are limitations, but like not like you can go wild with like having a narrative and like um, pushing things to the limit with your environment.
mm.
Um, yeah, I think that was the aspect that made me want to jump from like spatial to video games.
Yeah, it's like a real applied version of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, never once playing Uncharted did I feel um, like I was doing something that was impossible,
Hmm.
like that I shouldn't be able to do because of the laws of physics. It always,
Yeah.
it, I never kind of felt cheated of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so I have a question from a listener,
Hmm.
and that question is, what do you think would attract more women into game development careers, and what are the differences between your teen expectations of your career and the reality?
Okay. um, so the first question was, what would keep women in games?
What do you think would attract more women into game development careers?
Okay. Um, So I have to think about it for a sec. Because like, can I come back to this question? I have to think about it. I have to give a good answer.
Yeah,
What was
no
the
worries.
second half?
The second half was, what are the differences between your teen expectations of your career and the reality?
I guess when I was like a lot younger, or when I was first starting my degree, I was like, I'm going to learn how to make this specific type of game, which is like the Uncharted and like the Call of Duties. But once I got into like playing like indie games, I realized there are like more things to make beyond like what you currently see in AAA. And I think that really helped like change my outlook on like where I wanted to go with my career. Yeah, and I think that like partly is because of like the teachers that I had in uni. Like I had Ben Kenobi, is super cool. He really changed my like view on what games can be, and like pushed it to more like abstract points of views. So I think that really helped like inform like which companies I wanted to apply to, or like if I didn't want to go apply for like big companies, like AAA companies, and stay with like small tight-knit groups. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
So I think coming back to the first question, like what would attract more women in games? I think like having better work environments, and like when employers do their own research and not put like the heavy weight on women in their game studio to like help make things better, if that makes sense. Yeah, because I think like right now, like looking back on where we were like 2012, I think we have come a long way in terms of getting more women into games, and like the hiring policies have gotten a lot better, and people are like actively putting in work to actually hire more women and people of color and other like minority groups.
Right.
Yeah.
And so have you noticed it's better or worse in any of the different places you've lived?
I would say like Australia was really good for like putting their like job listings in places where would be more women and like people of color and like LGBTQ groups. Yeah, I would definitely say like Australia was pretty good for that, and New Zealand too. I haven't actually worked in the games industry in New Zealand, but I would like to. Yeah.
Well, you kind of have in a way with all the I mean, even if it was like volunteer work, all the everything you've done for the games industry locally in terms of the conferences you've supported, and just being there as a welcoming face to new people in the industry. I think.
Thank you.
I think all of those little jobs kind of they really matter.
Yeah, I think it definitely did help get me to where I am today. Yeah.
Okay. So you were born in the United Arab Emirates. Can you
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about the United Arab Emirates and how your culture has influenced your thinking and what you as an individual through your culture can bring to the games industry?
Yeah. So yeah, I was born in Emirates. I actually don't remember a lot of it. Like we moved to New Zealand when I was 4. So I do remember like visiting once when I was like 7. It was a very like hot country, super like crazy modern. But yeah, I think having come from like a different, like a Middle Eastern background has kind of like been an interesting experience being in like the games industry where it's like mostly made up of like Western culture and practices, even like things like how people celebrate in the games industry and like the networking events we have have been like pretty like alienating because a lot of it is like centered around like drinking, and I don't participate in that, so I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna stand in this corner and just small chat, like, you know. um so yeah, it definitely has been interesting. um and like the like there's like a lot of talk about like how brown people are like represented in games. Actually gave a GDC talk about how Muslim people are shown in video games or depicted in games. And like, I don't know, hopefully with like my perspective, I can offer like a new way to represent Muslim people, Arab people, or just like minority groups in general in video games.
Yeah, I think that's a great message for young Muslim and other young Arab people, that they can be, carrying and telling those stories through the medium of games.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think it's really important to branch out and tell stories that cater to other groups, and hopefully like we all learn from each other through these stories.
Yeah, one of my favorite games, indie-ish games, Never Alone, is was the first indigenous game I played, that had that AAA feel to it, had that kind of level of polish, and that you'd expect in like a PS4 game, as opposed to an online flash game,
Yeah.
back when they were a thing. And over the years, I've sort of met people who have worked on that game, and I have a better understanding of why they did it. And for them, and for the Inupiat people, it was really important to be able to take their historical or their history and capture it in a way that was conducive to young people and what they were using to consume content. You couldn't give like a child a paper book and expect them to engage with it in the same way that they would engage with a game. And
Yeah.
when I heard that story, it was just like, wow, okay, this is something we can do. This is the power we have to
Yeah.
carry that message. And I think as a cultural person, your background, I think it's like you have that opportunity to be an authentic carrier of that message. And I think that's kind of super exciting.
Yeah. I hope like I can in one day like tell like stories about like Middle Eastern kids growing up in New Zealand. Like I would love to do something like that.
Do you think your ethnicity there's been an outside influence on that for you?
Like on my For like Middle Eastern.
Well, like in terms of your the job prospects you've had, do you think it's been like a positive experience?
I think so. I think like when people see me in my hijab, they put in a lot, like they put in effort to like interview me, and like they're wanting to improve the diversity in their company. But yeah, like I think a lot of my positive like job outcomes have come through like knowing people face to face. So I think that's been super useful.
Cool. Okay. So you're a producer at Co-op
Mm-hmm.
and Cappy, did I say that right?
Yep.
And Viewport.
Yep.
So can you tell us what a producer does in the games industry?
Okay. So basically a producer kind of like, well, there's a couple branches to it. I would say like making sure everyone stays on track with the project, managing the team and communication, making sure like all the right channels are talking to each other, making sure like nothing like slips through the cracks or gets left to the last minute. Yeah, I think a producer helps keep everyone in view of the big picture and what they need to deliver in order to actually like make their game successful and out on time.
Yeah. Can you tell us anything about what you're working on?
Yeah, I can actually. So Co-op today, we announced our new game, Goodbye Volcano High, which was in the PlayStation 5 showcase, which is super awesome. And it's been so nice to see everyone's like positive reactions, and there's already fan art being made.
Wow.
And with Cappy, I'm working on Grindstone, which is a Apple Arcade title. You have to make chains through all these like creeps, we call them. And yeah, I just like go through all these like battles up a mountain, and you kill all these like crazy, creepy characters. And with Viewport, I'm working on a game called Mondo Museum, which is a museum building simulator, and you can like design your museum and like set up your exhibits. Yeah, so a lot going on.
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
it. Will that be a free-to-play game, the Mondo Museum, or will it be a paid download?
Yeah, it's going to be a paid download on Steam.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple trailers, I think, on YouTube, if anyone wants to check it out.
And what can we expect from you next?
Still producing, still working on games. Yeah, just see where that road takes me for the next little while.
Cool. Okay, so do
Yeah.
you have any pro tips for aspiring game developers, or any aha moments in your career that you want to share that you think might be valuable to others who are just starting out?
Definitely like learning people skills and being nice to people. Just being like a good person in your community overall just really goes a long way. But I do like stress like learning communication skills, and that can come naturally, or like just like the more you mingle with people, the better you'll get at it. I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah, what else? Definitely like apply for all the things, like apply for all the scholarships. That has definitely helped me. Like I probably wouldn't be where I am today without the like IGA scholarships that I've been lucky to get to go to like GDC and stuff.
So when that happened, were you based in New Zealand and they flew you to San Francisco to go to GDC?
Yeah. They flew me to GDC and Gamescom. And over there, like, that's where I met like international developers, which has been like super important, I think, for my career. Yeah, that's.
Would you be where you are today if you hadn't, say, gone to GDC?
I don't know. I don't think so. I know it's like a privileged thing to be able to go to GDC, but
For those of you who don't know, GDC is the Global Game Developers Conference that normally happens once every year in San Francisco.
yeah,
And it attracts over 30,000 like-minded people, and it's an important conference to go to if you're interested in this industry. Would you say?
yeah, I think so. And like New Zealand's really they have like some amazing conferences like NZGDC, and New Zealand Games Festival. Like those are super amazing for like building your community. So I definitely highly recommend going to those.
Get amongst it.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, like it's been super eye-opening meeting international developers. What else? Definitely like go to game jams. I highly recommend being in
So
that
just
environment.
quickly, for those who don't know, what's a game jam?
Okay, so a game jam is where you are given a topic and you have to make a game, like a small game in 48 hours usually. And sometimes when you go to like the game jam site, you like don't have a team already, so you like have to team up with like people you don't know, which is super interesting, I think, and getting to learn like right in the middle of it, I think, is super important. And yeah, like I don't recommend the crunching part of it at all, but there are definitely like pretty good experiences and really good like portfolio pieces to have, I think. Yeah, so there are some in New Zealand that you should all check out.
Kiwi Jam probably being the most notable one.
Yeah, Kiwi Jam, Global Game Jam. I think those are the main ones.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like don't be afraid to reach out to developers in the games industry. Like even if like you're still in high school, uni, like, or you're a graduate, it doesn't matter. Like literally, if you admire someone's work or want to get advice, just send them a DM on Twitter or Instagram. I think probably Twitter is the best one. Yeah, I think generally like everyone's pretty nice and they're willing to help out and give advice or look at your portfolio.
Cool. Okay, so finally, we're going to play a game. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. Farah, if you could tell us 3 things about you, 2 truths and a lie. We'll post them on social media as well. And the first person to guess which one was the lie will win a spot prize later on. So I believe you've got a couple prepared for us.
I do. Okay. So the first one is I used to be a librarian before I was a game dev. The other one is I used to be like a total like Susie Cato fan as a kid. And the other one is my aunt is a famous actress overseas.
Cool.
So,
thank you, Farah. Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to catch up again face to face. have another coffee in Fidel's next time you're in town.
Yeah, honestly, I'd love to, and I would bring my husband with me too and show him Wellington. He'd love it.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have
Bye-bye.
a good day.
You
Bye.
too.